You think I'm so weak. You think I love you because my womb desired your seed. You think I want to carry your brood beneath my heart and nourish it with my blood. To bear your child and take your name. By the way, what is your surname? I've never heard it. You probably haven't got one. I'd become Mrs. Gatekeeper, Madame Rubbish Dump, you dog who wears my collar. You drudge who wears my crest on your buttons, I share with my cook. Compete with my maid. Oh, you think I'm a coward and want to run away. No. I'm staying now. And let the storms break. Why the fuck couldn't you swim? I mean, you don't go out in a boat if you can't swim. You definitely don't fuck about over the side. It wasn't an accident, Ellen. You were mucking about. I survived. And you know what? You left life in a total mess. There is no calm order that you left behind. You totally and utterly crapped on me. No will, no bank details, and where the fuck have you left the key to your desk drawer? I mean, you could start by telling me that. But of course you can't. Of course you can't tell me. You couldn't organise yourself when you were alive. And maybe my experiences were extreme. Maybe I worried about things a bit more, but at least I got everything done. I have a will. I know my bank details. I have a file. If I had been the one... I didn't even know your mother's number. In the hospital. Well, do you think you should call her parents? Yeah, probably. Where the fuck's their number?
I want to talk to you about life, because it's just too difficult to be alive, isn't it? We're trying to function. See, I tried to buy a can of tuna fish at the supermarket, but there was this person stood in the way, and I waited a while to see if they'd move. They didn't. They were looking at the tuna fish too, but they were taking like a real long time on it, you know, reading the ingredients on each can like they were a book. You know, pretty boring book if you'd asked me, but no one has. So anyway, I waited a while to see if they'd move, and they didn't, and you know, I thought about asking them to move, but then I had this fear that it would do no good, like no good at all. So I started to cry, you know, out of frustration, quietly, not to disturb anybody, but even though I was still softly sobbing, this stupid person just didn't grasp that I need to get by them to reach the tuna fish. I hate people, they're so insensitive. So anyway, I reached over my fist and brought it down real hard on his head and just screamed, "Would you kindly move, arsehole?" That person fell down and looked totally startled. And there was a child nearby that started to cry, you know. I was still crying, so I shouted at the child to stop crying! Because, I mean, it was drawing too much attention to me. Anyway, I ran out the supermarket and got into a taxi and thought I'd go to the Metropolitan Museum of Art. Because I need to be surrounded by culture right now. Not tuna fish. She killed her daughter with a knife. Cut her to shreds. Her husband works for the US Embassy, and while there is no way legally that footage should be released to the public, he's very keen. Well, he thinks people should know. So I have a feeling it'll be out there in about 20 minutes. And I'm also going to tell my head of communications to circulate everything about Simon. Our involvement, the fact that you were there, the personal reason for this protest. Will all come out at 5 o'clock. To be involved in one death might be a mistake, but to be involved in both is too much of a coincidence, even for you. She was 11. Her name was Ruby and she liked reading and ballet. I think you make people do stupid things. I think you encourage people to take the brakes off. Yes, I think you had something to do with my son's death, and I think you had something to do with the little girl's death. You lecture me about compromise, but compromise is safe. Compromise is discussion and thought. Compromise is experience and making the best possible decision, not the most exciting. This country should have a manager.
When I would pray and think, I think and pray to several subjects. Heaven hath my empty words, whilst my invention, hearing not my tongue, anchors on Isabel. Heaven in my mouth, as if I did but only chew his name, and in my heart the strong and swelling evil of my conception. The state whereon I studied is like a good thing, being often read, grown feared and tedious. Yea, my gravity wherein lets no man hear me, I take pride. Could I with boot change for an idle plume, which the air beats for vain? O place, O form, how often dost thou, with thy case, thy habit, wrench all from fools, and tie the wiser souls with thy false seeming? Blood, thou art blood. Let's write good angel on the devil's horn. 'Tis not the devil's crest. The more I struggled, the more wrapped up in it I became, until eventually I stopped struggling and became the Tupperware man. And then the next part of the dream, I was Tupperware man himself. I could fly, and everything I touched turned to Tupperware. World was in a global panic. They sent Superman after me, and Batman, and Robin, and Luke Skywalker, and Wonder Woman, but they were helpless in the face of Tupperware man. I turned them all to Tupperware. Batman and Robin became a butter dish and egg cup. Superman was turned into a picnic box. Luke Skywalker zoom into a salad spinner. And Wonder Woman, I turned Wonder Woman into a huge tit-shaped jelly mould. Planet Earth was in danger of becoming a global Tupperware state when the Americans came up with a new invention. Tupperware woman. I struggled to get away from her, but it got drawn on, and eventually I gave up, beaten. I kissed her and my lid flew off. It was all over.
Well, it's different at different times. Well, when you're young, you're just a child being clever. But that changes when you get older. When other boys grow taller and clumsy, and their voices drop 2 million pegs. Oh, we don't do that. We hang on. We just do. Like a baby who's fallen down a well. You've got his foot in one hand, and you don't let go. So you're not one thing exactly. You're half man, half boy. And that is when you find you can really do it. And it's amazing. It's better than beer or wine. It's better than smoking. It's like flying. It's like finding that wings have suddenly sprouted from your shoulders and you come on stage and everything happens the way it's meant to. I can't stop thinking about it. You don't remember, do you? I wish I'd had a blow to the head. You were so determined I wouldn't speak to the lads. But I should have been with them. But you made me go with you in the vehicle in front. We were moving so slow. And we just passed a checkpoint. And I've been sitting next to you. And the convoy got held up. I don't know what. Goats, fucking goats or something. You let me get out. Check ahead. People talk about explosions, but they don't know, do they? Not really. Everything went white knock the shit out of me. Improvised explosive device, my arse! They're getting better and better.
I'm stood at the front of the class and I feel like I'm drowning. I look at them and think, who the fuck are you lot, anyway? I look at them, but I don't see children. I just see the colours of their jumpers and smudges where their faces should be. Behind me, today's date is written on the board and I'm trying to pretend I don't know what that means. It's hot and the classroom stinks and the clock's broken. The work on the walls is old and the corners are peeling away and the kids are screaming. I'm trying to remember why I wanted to do this in the first place. You can't inspire minds on a timetable like this. I think I'm miserable, Tony. I mean, I stand in the staff room and smile along with the rest of them, but they're all so bitter, Tony, they're all so fucking hateful. 30 years in the job and they hate everything about it. But it's too late for them to go and get a new one. And I'm pretty sure that they secretly hope that these kids will come to nothing. He wakes up and he looks at me as if he knows what I'm thinking and as if he wants to run away. So I kiss him on the lips before he can. And he smiles and I'm gone all over again. And we make love so tenderly, so sweetly, and as I drift off to sleep, lying on his chest, listening to the sound of his heart, thinking, I could listen to this forever. I think, is this it? Is this what falling in love feels like? And when I wake up in the morning, he's gone, along with €400 from my wallet, my iPad, my camera, my favourite scarf, and a large piece of my heart. I find a girl in the house. She's smoking a cigarette at the kitchen table. I ask her if she's seen him. She says, he said something about going to visit his girlfriend in London. She tells me to get my things and get out of her house.
You know what I want to do? I mean, there are people in there that would stop me doing this, but I want to tear you to fucking pieces, you know that? I want to rip you to shreds. To do to you what you did to her. I told them you were protesting your innocence. That's the only reason they let me see you. I told them this was a diplomatic matter. That's the only reason they let me in. But they'll know in a few minutes that you're guilty as hell.
Why? I want to know why. Look, I'll never see you again. I never want to. I hope that they would kill you in this country. I don't care what happens to you. But I want to know why. I found her in pieces. Cut her with a knife. I should be working. I should be in there. They're going to invade and I was a voice holding them back. But now I have no influence. And we're going to go to this wrong war and many people are going to die. And it won't be because of Ruby. It'll be because of you. You're the evil one.
There must be a famine on somewhere because we were just finishing our midday meal when the vicar calls with some envelopes. Breezy's in, anorak and running shoes, and he says, "I always look forward to coming to this house, Mrs. Whittaker." He thinks she's deaf, which she isn't. It's one of the few things she's not. He says, "Do you know why? It's because you two remind me of Jesus and his mother." Well, I've always thought Jesus was a bit offhand with his mother, and on one occasion he was quite snotty with her, but I didn't say anything. And of course, Madam is over the moon. In her book, if you can't get compared with the Queen Mother, then the Virgin Mary's the next best thing. She says, "Are you married?" Always asks, never remembers. He says, "No, Mrs. Whittaker, I'm married to God." She says, "Well, where's that leave you with the housework?" He says, "Well, I don't do as well as your Graham. He's got this place like a palace." She says, "Well, I do my whack. I washed 4 pair of stockings this morning." She hadn't. She put them in the bowl and then they slipped her mind. And so the rest of the operation devolved on me. About a week later, they started to come round and do this thing to the brain. We were all supposed to have it done in this ward. So they came round and they did it one at a time, one a night. I was one of the last. And I could see quite clearly what they did to the others. They used these, well, I don't know what they were. They looked like big pincers with wires on. The wires were attached to a little machine. It was electric. And he used to come round and this chief, the chief doctor, he would fit these pincers, something like earphones, on either side of the skull. There was another man holding the machine, you see, and he would just turn it on. And this chief, he would just press these pincers against the skull, just keep them there. And he'd take them off. Then they'd cover the man up. No one would touch him again until later on. Some people put up a fight. Most of them didn't. They just lay there.
I can't believe it. I love him. I actually love him. And his sister's inviting me to lunch at their place next week. I've heard folk talk about this feeling. I've read about it. I just assumed that if we were to survive, that I would never know love, that I would have to marry whoever, but the thought that I could have the real thing, I just didn't think this would be my story. Everyone should be able to feel like this. Mr. Dyron, yet again, some gallant fool's writing a wilting wayfish woman without a bean of personality or a single funny line. But hey, it doesn't matter, 'cause she's pretty. And what does this flimsy-whimsy want from life? Adventure? Respect? No. All she wants is some flop who once wrote her a poem and compared it to a flower. Is that what you think women want? No, Mr. Dyron, it's not. We're as knotty and tangly as you are, but yet, how do you write us? Oh, Romeo, Romeo, lend me your dagger so I can kill myself. For I'm young and healthy and have everything to live for. And I've only met you a week ago. My life's not worth living now that you're gone. Really? It's Hogswill. Juliet is a noodle. Who wrote that twaddle anyway? Well, he should learn to write proper plays. Or let his wife have a go. Please, Mr. Dyron, you can write for a real woman now? No one has ever done that before. Write from here. And write me a character, some skin and heart and some sense in her head. Celadon says he thinks he might marry her. You'd think he'd agree to that.
I'm not really comfortable on a bike in a skirt. Just makes people look at your legs. But who's around at that time of night to look? I could have been getting on a car in a skirt. That'd have made a difference. I could have come to work wearing a pair of jeans and I might get folded up in one of panniers, but then it would have all been squashed and that wouldn't have went down at all well with management. Or I could have come to work in a skirt and changed the trousers to go home, given that you're meant to be alright in daylight, but you're not safe at night. Or I could have walked to work and I could have got a taxi home and I could have worn whatever I'd liked. But I'd still have been there, on the edge of that road at midnight, about to get on my bike or into a car or just stuck there waiting for a taxi. Whether I'd been wearing a skirt or not, whether I had good legs or not, whether I'd been 15 or menopausal or just lame, I'd still have been there. All the great scientists, Copernicus, Galileo, they made their discoveries because they had imagination. They saw more than what was in front of them. They thought like artists and painters, great painters. They treat their art like a science. Van Gogh did countless experiments with tone to work out the effects of dark and light. They're Renaissance men, proper thinkers. That's what progress needs. The men out there building the chapel, they measure the timber so the vaults can bear the weight. But without the stories in that stained glass, well, then it'd be no more than a barn.